There are only two man-made objects you can see from outer space. One is the Great Wall of China, and the other is Southern California's Salton Sea. One is the result of the work of hundreds of thousands of laborers over 2,000 years, and the other is the result of a gigantic mistake. What do you want to hear about now? Should I introduce any biblical stuff? Okay. Sounds good. Now, are you ready? I'm ready to go. You ready to go?
Yes.
This is the Great Wall of China and the Salton Sea, Monuments, Missteps, and the Audacity of Ambition podcast. I'm Russell Rathbun.
And I'm Jonathan. This is podcast 3. What do we have today?
Yeah, episode 3. I'm a minister, so I'm always writing about the Bible. And the Tower of Babel is just a crazy, interesting story and first mythical example of it in the biblical text here. So that's going to be the excerpt. Of course, we're going to our ongoing saga with trying to connect with a local independent bookstore. First, should I read that thing I've done, the other 2 podcasts that say what this podcast is about?
Give me a little background, Russell.
Search for the Great Wall of China and the Salton Sea on Facebook. And follow me, Russell Rathbun, on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Let's see. Okay, so I thought, my book's coming out, and so we're going to do this podcast because I want to let everybody know about this book and let you know what it's about. So if you're interested, you can buy it. But I also didn't want this whole opportunity just to be about me. So I thought, you know what? Let's call some independent bookstores around the country because I think you should buy this book from an independent bookstore because local independent bookstores are how we fell in love with reading and discovered new books, wandering the aisles looking for one thing, pulling another thing off the shelf. The wizened old man, which kind of old man is he?
Wizened.
Yeah, that's the one. That guy. He says, "Hey, have you read Schleiermacher?"
Schleiermacher changed my life.
Yeah. It happens to a lot of encounters with the Schleiermacher. So what I thought I could do is I would just call up an independent bookstore in some small town or big town, college town, wherever. And I would say, hi, I got this book coming out and I want to tell people in your area to buy the book from you at your independent local bookstore. We've got
one hit and one miss.
Yeah, one hit.
Let's see what happens this
one
time.
denial.
For good reason.
Yeah, for good reason. And I thought, let's call them up. Tell me about your bookstore. And so we're going to do it again. We're going to call them up and we're going to ask them about it. And this week, it is in...
Who are we calling this week?
Blue Stem Books in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Excellent.
This is Russell, and I do a podcast where I talk about books and encourage people to shop at independent bookstores. And one segment that I'm doing is I call different independent bookstores from around the country and just ask them to describe what their bookstore is like.
Okay, I didn't catch the first part of the phone call. And who are you again?
My name is Russell Rathbun, and I'm doing a podcast in which I talk about independent bookstores. And one segment is I call up independent bookstores all around the country and just say, okay, so you're an independent bookstore in this city. Tell me a little bit about your bookstore.
Are you from Lincoln? Or?
No, I'm not. I'm out of St. Paul, Minnesota. So
okay.
I've called Bookstore Madison, in Portland, Oregon. And so I just wonder if you would tell me about your bookstore, how long it's been around.
We've had the shop open for 32 years now.
32 years. Well, good for you. A lot of those old timers haven't made it this far.
Yeah, exactly. My wife and I started book scouting and selling books through the mail in about 75.
Wow.
And as we were working other jobs, and then we opened our shop in 84.
And have you always been at the same location?
We had to move about 8 years ago, but we're within 3 blocks of the location we started in.
Do you have like a specialty, would you say, or what is it like literary fiction or what?
Yeah, we don't carry bestsellers for the most part. It's mostly literary fiction, history, more scholarly books.
Oh, that's fantastic! And I assume that blue stem is that a native flower?
Yeah, that's the native prairie grass.
Oh, that's fantastic! Yeah, we have that blue stem up here. Well, little blue stem. Yeah.
We're the big blue stem part of the country.
Yeah. All right. And do you personally curate? I mean, there's so many books out there. How do you make the decision what to carry? There's limited space, obviously.
Yeah. When my wife and I were first collecting books and thinking about opening a bookstore, we pretty much just bought the books that we liked. And then we thought after we opened the store, our customers would let us know what they wanted. But it's turned out that our customers like what we like, so we really haven't changed our focus on buying. We buy books that we especially like books we haven't seen before.
Sure.
A lot of books you just get tired of seeing, and our customers seem to have the same interest. My wife was an English major, history minor. I was a history minor, English major. So that's been kind of our focus, and it didn't train us for any other occupation but this one.
Well, that is noble work that you're doing, and I appreciate you doing it. So I'm going to tell anybody in and around Lincoln, Nebraska, that they should go to Blue Stem Books.
Okay, and we've got a Facebook page that kind of tells about us.
And the story. So you can, anybody on Facebook can just look up Blue Stem Books.
Blue Stem Books, yeah.
And they'll find your page. I'm going to go like it right away. Thank you so much for talking to me. And
you bet. Thanks for what you're doing.
35 years. Okay.
When you're in Lincoln, stop in and say hi.
Okay. All right. I will do that. Bye.
Bye.
Well, that guy was great.
Oh, yeah. He was like the guy that I was thinking that everybody was going to act like. He was like, thank you for doing this.
And to be fair, I think he probably had a little more time. Maybe there wasn't a customer right there.
Yeah.
But it was so great to hear about his bookstore. And he wanted to lay it all out for you.
No, he was great.
And that connection, that human connection, that proprietary connection he has with that store.
Yeah. I think it's time for the excerpt.
Let's hear more from the book.
This excerpt is about the Tower of Babel. I kind of, have these themes in the book of the Great Wall of China and the Salton Sea, and I tease similar themes or points of the monuments, missteps, and the audacity of ambition to different historical events, and then even like in the biblical story. So the Great Flood is kind of with like the Salton Sea and the crazy story, and the Tower of Babel I kind of pair a little bit thematically with the Great Wall of China.
I see some foibles of humanity in there. People,
it's all about the foibles.
Maybe well-meaning, Aesop's foibles.
Maybe well-meaning, but also like self importance, right. Maybe profiting.
Right. Maybe the appearance of being beneficial.
Right. Yeah. The audacity of ambition. At this point in the history of Genesis, the Tower of Babel is the biggest thing people have ever made. It's the first major human building projects that's recorded, and it's ambitious. The ark doesn't really count. That was God's idea and design, and God only let Noah and his family work on it. The rest of humanity just laughed at Noah and went about their business, unaware of the impact their inability to swim would have on their near future. The entire story of the Tower of Babel is only 9 verses long in the 11th chapter of Genesis, but it's nearly universally recognized story. Besides the telling in Genesis, there are similar stories in the Quran, in Sumerian, Babylonian, Incan, Hungarian, and Irish folklore. It is the subject of operas, ballets, plays, and countless paintings throughout history, most famously the Flemish master Bruegel's 1563 rendition of the Tower of Babel, patterned after the Roman Colosseum. What is it about the story that continues to resonate over time? Is it because it's a compelling story of origin, or pourquoi tale, like how the leopard got his spots or why the snake doesn't have legs? This story does explain why people are spread out all over the world and speak foreign languages. That must be part of it, but there's more. There's something about humanity's striving and perceived hubris in building a tower that reaches all the way to touch the heavens, to touch God. And there's also a powerful underlying tension generated by God's discomfort with the unity of people. The people are unified, speaking one language, working together with one purpose. The people are unified, speaking one language, working together with one purpose, which generally is considered a good thing. But God is angry, the way he was when people were being fruitful and multiplying and spreading all over the earth. God doesn't like this tower project. Fresh from the flood, the whole earth is devastated. And here the people come together and get busy making the best of a bad situation. The Genesis text says that everyone on earth was one and spoke the same language, and that they all decided to head east together until they found this place in the flatland, the desert of Shinar. They all agreed that it was a good place to put down roots. So they said, let's all make bricks and use some of the tar for mortar, and let's build ourselves a city together. You can probably hear the cry go up, yeah, all right, we're building ourselves a city. Let's do this thing. Just your average run-of-the-mill rah-rah, let's get pumped up affair. But then someone adds, and let's build a tower that reaches all the way up to heaven. Let's make a name for ourselves, otherwise we'll be scattered all over the face of the earth. All the pumped-up people with their fists in the air start yelling, yeah, then trail off and look at each other, puzzled. A tower that reaches heaven? Why would we? Is that even possible? Wait, what does that even mean, make a name for ourselves? Who are we trying to impress? We're the only people on earth. Then a man in the crowd, a little panicked, asks, what do you mean, otherwise we'll be scattered all over the face of the earth? A woman, seeing where this thread is going, picks it up. So you're saying that if we don't make a name for ourselves with this crazy tower thing, we'll be scattered all over the face of the earth? Far away from this place? Far away from each other? How could that happen? Who could? Then it dawns on her, and she whispers, you mean, she points up, but covers the gesture with her hand, him? After the great flood, God and humanity seem to have a lot of unresolved feelings about each other. God is at a loss. What else can he do? He threw them out of the garden, but that didn't teach them. He thought for sure everyone would straighten up after he basically destroyed the whole earth with a flood. But as soon as there was a little bit of dry land, they started right back at it, the same behavior. Now he can't really do the flood thing again because he promised he wouldn't. But that was as much because it didn't have the desired effect as it was compassion. As for the people, well, it's hard for them to forget that God nearly wiped all of them out. Sure, he promised he wouldn't do it again, but it's always in the back of their minds. Now, God mostly keeps to himself, keeps his distance, and the people focus on figuring some things out on their own. Sure, they're polite when they see each other, but they keep the conversation light, tiptoe around any subjects having to do with disobedience or the weather forecast. Just one little mention that it looks like rain, and everybody gets upset all over again. Building this tower and making a name for themselves could be a defensive move, some preemptive action to guard against God's next plan, which they seem to think might be scattering them all over the face of the earth. So just to be on the safe side, they create a place that reaches above the high water mark. Or maybe they build the tower to reach outer space, because that's where God is. They're out in the desert, looking up, wondering if God is looking down, noticing them. Maybe what they mean by making a name for themselves is doing something that God would notice. They're building a tower to reach outer space so they can once again see God up close. Yeah.
I love that imagery.
Yeah. Franz Kafka was obsessed with this Tower of Babel story. And writes about it on, I think 4 different occasions. Because it is so, it's reaching up to God and God reaching down and kind of smacking the people back down.
Right.
And you're kind of like left baffled. So, yeah, it's not as narrative or historical or this is just biblical interpretation of this Tower of Babel story, which I love to do. I love to interact with this biblical text because it's often so weird and surprising. And I like finding those. And even Franz Kafka, when he writes about the Tower of Babel, he ties it actually to the Great Wall of China. And talks about how the Great Wall of China really was an attempt to build a foundation for the Tower of Babel. So that's the excerpt. This has been episode 3 of The Great Wall of China and the Salton Sea, Monuments, Missteps, and the Audacity of Ambition podcast. You can be at the book. Comes out January 17th from William Erdman's publishing. You could
probably pre-order it at Blue Stem Books in Lincoln, Nebraska.
I think that would be a great place to do it. Great place. You can search The Great Wall of China and the Salton Sea on Facebook. Follow me, Russell Rathbun, on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter to keep current with the doings. Now let's go out with that quirky, perky mandolin theme song. Hit it, Johnny.